Hello and welcome to this class on Blender. I have been requested to do a couple of classes on Blender, in particular stuff related to bringing the items into virtual worlds. As you know, I do a lot of stuff with virtual worlds. One of the virtual worlds I have been a part of is Second Life, and what they would like me to do is to do you a video on how to take an item and then put that into Second Life and work with it. But we need to know the basics of Blender, and that's what's important in these videos. So let's start just by working through the shortcuts in this video. These are the shortcuts that you're going to use. Obviously there's many shortcuts, there's also many buttons you can see in the panel in Blender. There is lots of things that you're going to need, and there's lots of things that you're not going to need, and digging through that is an important part because there's a lot of information given to you at the beginning and it can be a little bit overwhelming. So we're going to try and reduce some of that confusion today. So when you start up a project, you will be given a cube here, and to select anything all you have to do is press the left mouse button. To deselect anything, you press the mouse button away from it. So you can press on it and you can press away from it. And that is how you select. It's always on the left mouse button. To cancel stuff, it's the right mouse button. So if I did something, let's say I moved this, I didn't like it, I can put that back. Let me show you. So drag it across and then press the right mouse button, it puts it back, okay? Let's have a look what's in our scene. So the scene is up here in this top corner. The scene is up here in this top corner, and in it we have a camera. That's if you're trying to render an object and you want to do a video on it or something. So that's what that is. Your cube is the cube, and the light is the light source, which is this thing here. That provides light to the object. So if you're doing any texturing, lighting, stuff like that, and you want to do lighting effects on the objects and then take that onto your texture, you're going to need a light source, maybe more than one. So it's best to keep your light source, and then this here is your camera. This is the camera. You don't have to see, if you don't want it, if it's annoying you, you can either delete it or you can press this little eye icon here that will just make it disappear. So if those things are confusing you, you can just get rid of them and only have the cube just to work on. So let's have a look at some buttons. The first thing we're going to do is look at moving our camera. It's very easy to do, and it involves the middle mouse wheel. All you do is push down on the middle mouse button and you're able to now rotate by moving your mouse around. You can also roll forwards with the mouse wheel and roll backwards with the mouse wheel, and that will give you the ability to move the camera. If you lose the object and you want to zoom into it quickly, you can select the object and press the delete key on your number pad. That's the one next to 0, insert, and that will zoom you into the object. This is really good if you're working really detailed with points and stuff and you need to zoom in really close. You can go up and down by holding the shift key and holding the mouse wheel in. You can go up and down. So if you lose your object and it's up here, you can hold that shift key, press the middle mouse wheel and just pull down, and that will give it you, and then you can go back to rotating, or just press that delete key and again you'll just zoom straight back in there. So remember, it's the delete key on the number pad, not the delete key to delete objects. It's the one next to 0. Okay, so let's have a look at some stuff we can do with this cube. Well, we can do one button which is called G for grab. G for grab. You press G and you'll notice nothing happens. But what we can do now is if we move our mouse around, we can move the object. Once you've selected G, you can do what's called constraining the object. And you can constrain it on 3 axes. Axis X, axis Y, and axis Z, and you can do that very easily just by pressing that button on the keyboard. So if I want to, once I've grabbed it, I've pressed G. If I want to make it just move on the X axis, I can press X now on my keyboard and it will only move on that X axis. If I now press Y, it will only move on my y-axis. And if I press Z, it will only move on that z-axis. And remember, if I've made a mistake, I press the right click on my mouse button, puts it straight back to where it was. If I want to confirm, I press the left button. So that's how you grab and move an object. How do we resize an object? By pressing S. S for scale. S for scale. And you press S, and then you can zoom in and zoom out. This can also work on the constraints of the X, Y, and Z. If I press X, I now only stretch it this way. If I press Y, I only stretch it this way. And if I press Z, I only stretch it this way. And remember, if you're not happy, just press that right mouse button and it'll reset everything for you. Now, let's have a look at if we want to edit the object. Now we've looked at sizing it and moving it. Let's have a look at editing it. You edit it in the Edit Object menu. That can be found up here in Edit Mode here, or by pressing Tab on your keyboard, which is next to the Q button. Tab goes into Edit Mode. So let's do that now by pressing Edit Mode. You'll see that straight away the box has lit up, and particularly these points here in the corner have lit up. These are the verts. You have 3 selection modes. One is verts, which are these little dots. And up here is how you select it, right next to the edit button. If you press the second one, you'll pick the edges, which are these things here. And the last one is faces, which is the entire face on the object. And using these tools, you can do exactly the same. By pressing things like grab, you can move just the face. Or you can press on the edge, and you can press G for grab and move just the edge. Or you can select just a vert and press G and move that. We're going to look at our another shortcut. And the shortcut we're going to use is E. E for extrude. E for extrude. By pressing E, we are able to extrude the object, which means making it extrude, so making more of it. You can do that again on the constraints of Y, X, and Z. If I'm happy with that, I can press the left mouse button to confirm. If I'm not happy with that, I can always press the lovely Control Z for undo, and it does the last movement I did. The very last thing I'm going to show you is bevel, the beveling tool, to bevel an object. By selecting the edge, and selecting this edge here in particular, I can do Control plus B. B for bevel. B for bevel. Once I've done it, you'll notice nothing happens. But when I scroll my mouse wheel away, you'll see it cuts into the object, like so. By scrolling the mouse wheel up, I can add more verts to give it a more softer bevel, or by scrolling it the other way, reduce the amount of bevels. This is great for adding a nice curvature to your object and keeping control of that curvature. And remember, if I'm not happy with it, you just press the right mouse button and it will go straight back to where it was. Hopefully that will help you on the beginnings of learning Blender, how to navigate and how to start to edit an object. Let's go into the next video, which will talk more about a project. We're going to cut out a logo.